I somehow turned this cube into an entire animation. Fortunately, I recorded the whole thing, so we can go through and figure out how I did it. For this animation, I started with some improv voice recordings.
I heard he's allergic to wind.
Yeah, what a loser.
And with those lines, I knew I had a story. The Wind Kid. A kid who's allergic to wind. I then created the rest of the scenario, created whatever other characters I wanted, and got on to the Previs. Previs could be a great step to helping you flush out the story, the timing, and anything else you might need. To do this, I needed a rough gray box version of the set. In the voiceover, I decided that the Wind Kid was asking to play basketball.
Hey, are you guys playing basketball?
It only seemed fitting for this animation to take place at a basketball court. Knowing I'd use the set for the actual animation, and knowing it wouldn't be too much work, I modeled out the entirety of the basketball hoops. I began to perform the art of landscaping, which I generally wouldn't consider landscaping an art, but maybe I just don't go outside enough to appreciate some people's yards. If that offended you, just remember that grass is a weed. The next part of Previs is flaunting my stuff. Strutting my stuff. Planning out the character poses and movement. I can then use myself as a reference to come up with the movement quicker. After recording and retiming the footage, I then bring it into After Effects to remove the background. I recorded this in front of a green screen thinking that it would help,
But my body's huge, and I can't fit in the frame.
Once I cut myself out, I can jump back into Blender. I can start planning out the character and the camera positions. Doing this can help me figure out where I can optimize my animation. If I reframe certain shots just right, I don't have to do the extra work, but I can get the same result. After a couple of hours, I have a better idea of what I want, which looks like this.
Ew, it's Timmy. I heard he's allergic to wind.
Yeah, what a loser.
Guys, he's coming over.
Despite looking like an off-brand version of the Wiggles, it's exactly what I need. I can then move on to creating the rest of the set. I already knew that this was a basketball court, but where is it? What is it? I ultimately decided on just a simple neighborhood park. I can pull assets out of my asset library, to quickly build the set. You too can have access to this library through my Patreon. It's got guns, office supplies, a wide range of furniture, rocks, trees, city and street objects, and even modular houses. I plan on constantly updating this library so more can be made with it. I want this entire set to be surrounded with houses, trees, and telephone poles. It'll make the set feel full and more interesting. I arranged a couple different home shapes and then proceeded to make different colored versions. This way it feels like a larger variety of homes. I can then start to scatter them around the park. Moving the camera closer to where I want it can help me visualize how the scene will look. I duplicate the houses to make it feel more full and fix a bit of the arrangement. Moving on to the basketball court, I want it to be more than just basic cement. So I head into Procreate to create the texture. I use symmetry to help speed this process up. I want the lines to be pretty distinct, but then take away from it with a gritty eraser. I then add some painted brush strokes to help sell the painterly effect. I then throw the texture on, and man does it look good. I then open up a new version of Blender with the Blender Dreams plugin. This uses Stable Diffusion to generate images. These are generated as a part of the process, not the full process. It helps speed up my workflow while allowing me to be creative in my strongest craft. With that said, I need to create a solid background. I want some basic mountains with some simple clouds moving behind them. Finding it difficult to get what I want, I have to Google an image that resembles what I need. Mountains, clear sky. I quickly find what I want and use it as a reference for the image generation. I then use an upscaling application and, I upscale it. This will give me a higher resolution, which will look better in the background. In Photoshop, I cut the background out and replace it with some clouds. I then color match them so they feel more coherent. I then place a circle curve around the set so the images can follow around it. I import the cloud image and scale it appropriately and make it as seamless as possible. I then add the mountains and do the same. I realize the backboard is smoother than my voice, so I create a texture for it. I want something simple and boxy. Also, I didn't notice, but maybe you did. I apparently added some trees off camera. Secretly. And with that, the set is complete. On to character creation. I had an idea of the characters based on the voices I did. A typical snobby teen girl, a tall necklace man, and a weird lizard man. I started with the snobby girl. I wanted her to be hideously snobby. Pouty lips, as curvy as a snake, big eyelashes, and heavy eyeshadow. For the tall character, I wanted him to be tall, so I adjusted his height to make him taller. I wanted him to be muscular and very Chad. I gave him a wacky tuft of hair and called it a day. Last but not totally last is the lizard man. I wanted his neck to be elongated, his joints to be lanky, and his hands and feet to be overly large. I wanted his eyes to be weirdly wide set, downturned. I wanted his hair to be too close to his head, and I wanted him to have a little hat. For the actual last character, I want him to be super normal, just a blonde kid with regular proportions. Who knew that the kid being bullied for being allergic to wind was just so normal looking? On to animation. Planning this animation was quite easy. I just kept the reference to the side while animating. And I kept referring to the reference when I needed to reference the movement for my animation. Using my regular methods, I'd pose the character out first, then move on to the animation. I started out with Girl Snob, and I gave her tons of attitude. I then worked on the lizard man. I wanted him to be hunched over and use swimming motions. It feels weird, but I like it. Next was the big boy Chad. Anytime he's talking, I want the camera to be angled up towards him. This will make him feel taller and more daunting. After hours of animating, jumping between character to character, I got something that looked like this.
Ew, it's Timmy. I heard he's allergic to wind.
Yeah, what a loser.
Guys, he's coming over.
Liking the look of the gang, I moved on to Timmy. For Timmy, I wanted him to be very timid and very nervous, so I kept his posture and his walking and everything very close. I kept his head looking down to show a total lack of confidence. I don't want this guy who's allergic to wind to be overly confident and have an ego. It just doesn't feel right. I also gave him the basketball. Yet he's the one who asks if the gang is playing. It weirdly makes sense. After several more hours of work, I have the body animation completely laid out.
Ew, it's Timmy. I heard he's allergic to wind.
Yeah, what a loser.
Guys, he's coming over.
Hey, are you guys playing basketball?
Yeah, without you.
Can I join?
Ew, why are you whispering? And why are you allergic to wind?
Yeah, that's a loser thing.
I didn't choose to be this way.
Guys. That's a lot of wind.
And on to the lip sync. I really do enjoy this part. I found the facial animation really brings the character from this creepy stare to life. Using my preset mouth shapes, I can fly through this fairly quickly. To really help speed this process up, I also just focus on one character for the entirety of the animation, and once I finish their lip sync, then I move on to the next. After the lip sync is done, I move on to the eye animation. This really helps sell the character. They actually look in directions, you can make them think, you can totally bring expression into their face. It's honestly one of the most fun parts of animation. I can then add some weird character attributes, a lisp, a lazy eye, whatever I need or want. After that, I move on to the final details. This mostly includes giving it that stop motion look, making everything last 2 frames instead of 1. I'd like to take this time to thank my patrons. Thank you to Marcellus and the Rare Ocelot Speedruns. Welcome, and thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to join and support and get your names read as well, you can find my Patreon down in the description below. Thank you. And with that, I render it, and here's the final product.
Ew, it's Timmy. I heard he's allergic to wind.
Yeah, what a loser.
Guys, he's coming over.
Hey, you guys playing basketball?
Yeah, without you.
Can I join?
Ew, why are you whispering?
And why are you allergic to wind?
Yeah, that's a loser thing.
I didn't choose to be this way.
Guys! That's a lot of wind.
If you like this video and want to see more like it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to help support me, consider my Patreon. Thanks for watching and have a day.